I'm David Ainsworth, Head of Communications at the United Nations Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity. In today's Substa 26 Biodiversity Beat interview, we're talking with Jyrker Tamelander, who's the Head of Science and Policy at the Ramsar Convention. Jyrker, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Pleasure to be here.
So here at Substa and at the SBI that follows, we're really bringing together all the elements of the biodiversity plan. Can you talk a little bit about the opportunities that the plan offers to the Ramsar Convention to move forward on the protection, conservation, sustainable use of wetlands?
Well, yeah, as you say, the Ramsar Convention on wetlands really focuses on that specific biome, on identifying and protecting wetlands that are international importance, and on ensuring wise use or sustainable use of all wetlands. That is important, that is part of a dedicated treaty, because those systems, those wetlands, are so foundational to our society. They provide the water we drink, they purify it, they moderate the volumes, they buffer extremes, they are an essential part of the climate system, and so this treaty provides a framework for giving those ecosystems the dedicated attention that they require. Now, the benefit of then the synergy between the CBD and the Convention on Wetlands, and importantly the Global Biodiversity Framework as the world's biodiversity plan, is that we can use the Convention on Wetlands, its mechanisms, its tools and its processes towards delivering that global collective plan that we see as ours, just as much as it's adopted through your convention.
In this focus, do you focus under Ramsar on specific targets, or do you approach it from another cross-cutting sort of approach?
You know, we've obviously very carefully mapped our convention's mandate against the plan. And for example, wetlands in some shape or form are mentioned in a couple of the targets explicitly. When we talk about inland waters and marine and coastal biodiversity. That's where you find the wetlands. But when you look at how wetlands are required to actually delivering the goals and the targets, it transcends almost the entirety of the plan. So I think 2 or 3 targets short, wetlands are essential in actually delivering the ambition of the plan throughout. And that's why this partnership is so important.
So I'm thinking about lessons learned. I mean, one of the things that makes the plan also quite novel is it's all about mainstreaming across a lot of different sectors. How does Ramsar approach mainstreaming in its work for wetlands?
You know, the basis for that is partly in this wise use that's hardwired into the convention itself. And the term wise use, it sort of predates the ecosystem approach, but for most practical purposes they're completely congruent. Wise use means that we don't only place systems under strict protection. The idea is that they have to be managed, maintained and used in a way that benefits society and doesn't compromise the benefits of future generations. That implies that there has to be a focus across sectors. Now, that said, we're an environmental treaty and most of the engagement within the treaty process are from the environment sector. At the same time, there's an explicit recognition throughout resolutions in our strategic plan and so on of the importance of mainstreaming, of the importance of considering wetlands within other sectors, just to name a few. Agriculture, fundamental to food security, fundamentally dependent on wetlands, but at the same time one of the major, maybe the major driver of wetland degradation in the world.
Wow. I asked you at the beginning in terms of, you know, how you mapped onto the biodiversity plan. What if we flipped over that a little bit and said, like, so what have we done for you? Because I'm saying the Ramsar Convention is going to help us implement the targets, but what doors does this open for you?
Well, the global nature of the framework and the fact that it is the world's collective plan is very important in itself. These are the global societal targets and goals that we are all collectively working towards. And just in that sense, if anything, it elevates the mandate. It creates the space. It transcends, stakeholder groups and sectors, even to a greater extent than otherwise would be the case. And I think it's something we really need to hold on to very much. And the world is facing a few very deep crises that are all interlinked. They're not going to be solved unless we use the tools at our disposal really, really efficiently. And part of that efficiency is maximizing this interfacing between our two conventions and their mutually supportive nature and their interdependence, if you wish. And I'm very happy to say we have a long-standing partnership with the Convention on Biological Diversity, including a joint work plan, which is now in its 6th iteration. So there's an excellent basis for this. We have mechanisms and processes that can be used, and collectively we just need to ensure that they are used effectively, so that when 2030 comes around, there is actually something to show for it.
Exactly. I mean, the other part of it is that the Ramsar and the Convention on Biodiversity are part of this Biodiversity Liaison Group. We're looking all these things together. Do you have a sense, and maybe you don't yet, of how this plan can affect or transform the search for synergies amongst whole members of this group?
I think it will help on many levels. Most of the conventions, including ours, we have mapped our current strategic plan against the GBF. We are designing our next strategic plan to be aligned with the GBF. So all of this is happening with the party-led process. Our contracting parties are adopting these things. They are putting the enabling environment in place. And so we continue to use fora that bring secretariats together, such as the BLG, the Biodiversity Liaison Group. But at the same time, the most important thing that I can see is when the parties to these conventions make those synergies happen at the national level, across the sectors, across ministries, and also in how their engagement in all the different multilateral agreements is shaped.
I mean, I think that's important. Our urge now is to make sure that people's national biodiversity strategies and action plans are aligned with the target. But that implies the ability to look at other target setting exercise and other conventions. We've talked about NDCs and the climate process as well. What other elements in terms of target setting or action plans at national levels for Ramsar can we illustrate?
Yeah, there's, most countries, they develop some form of national plans or policies on wetlands under the Convention on Wetlands. They put a lot of effort into national wetland inventory as a basis for planning and decision making, including identifying wetlands of international importance, etc. We need to ensure that there's high synergy between those efforts and the NBSAPs that are now being updated. The NBSAPs is really how the global plan is operationalized. So if that's the common plan, then that operationalization really needs to fully incorporate or align those other efforts that already exist, that are often much more specific for individual sort of taxa, individual biota or ecosystems, such as in the case of our convention. And in fact, our scientific and technical review panel, together with international organization partners of the Convention on Wetlands, have just prepared a detailed guide specifically on ensuring adequate consideration of wetlands within the NBSAPs that are being updated in the target setting and in the more detailed planning and in the financing aspects of that, which is a crucial element for achieving the plan, but also for really protecting wetlands at the scale that we need.
That's great. That's an amazing tool that we definitely need to disseminate some more. Great, excellent. Well, thanks for taking the time with us. I hope we talk again at COP16.
I should hope so.
And we see where we move on this next.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.